The first time I came across this Mary Vincent story, I was so scared. I couldn't sleep that night. As an African living in Africa, it was so hard for me to unpack. It was so hard for me to listen to. In fact, I remember I had to pause it, then came back the next day or even during the week and listened to it, and then later researched it, and it was so heartbreaking. I couldn't believe that someone could be this evil. But I know that things like that happen in my country too, even though we don't have very much proper documentation for such crimes. But I know that things like that, evil lives everywhere. Evil doesn't know color, it doesn't know tribe, it has no race. Evil is everywhere. From my talking about true crime stories that happen all over the world, from Asia to America, North America, South America, many places in the world, I've come to know that evil exists in this world, and every race, every tribe is capable of evil. So today we are going to talk about the case of Mary Vincent. This case happened in California, America, United States of America. So it's a very, very devastating case, a very, very saddening case. Please, viewers, discretion is advised. She's a survivor. She survived, and you would, listening to the story, you would ask how was she able to survive? How was she able to survive this attack? I don't know. By sheer grit. So let's just dive into it. Mary Vincent was born in 1963 into a close-knit family at the time. So growing up, she was staying with her parents and being happy, go lucky. Then her parents divorced, destroyed Mary Vincent to an extent, and that made her start running away from home. She would run away, and her running away is not like if she run away this morning and maybe by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe she will be seen, or maybe in the evening she will come home. No, she runs away and she will stay there for weeks, sometimes months, before she would come home. So at the time, it became like a routine for her. She will run away and come home whenever she wants to. So her parents, they already know that that is how she is. That is who she is. They left her to her means. So she would come home sometimes, she would run away, and that was her life. Then in 1978, from where she ran away to, she just had this thought of going, and she was just desperate to get to her grandparents' home. So she, at that time in the 70s, 80s, even in Nigeria here, people were used to hitchhiking. In Nigeria, we call it lift. So then people would just stand on the road, on the edge of the road, and flag down any car, and some good people will stop for them and pick them up to their destination. Even as it was then, there were stories that hitchhiking has led to different deaths, grapes, and so many things. So people were telling people not to hitchhike. But after that, 70, after that 1978, it was still going on. So a lot of people were on the road trying to flag down a car. So they will flag down a car and the car will zoom off and not pick any of them. So there she was with ladies, a group of ladies there. So they flagged down this man's car, Lawrence Singleton. So he just stopped. He was driving a van. He stopped and beckoned to Mary and told Mary to come in. So Mary said, okay. The other hitchhikers, they came in and they came on to like try to enter the car. He said no, that he doesn't want to take any of them, that he just wants to take Mary. So it was like an alarm bell started ringing in the minds of the other hitchhikers. They were telling Mary not to enter the car, that this man, that the way the man is saying that the man singled you out and just want to take only you is not proper. It's not proper, and it may not be safe for you to enter alone. So Mary, being that she has been hitchhiking almost all her life, all the time that she has been running away, she has been hitchhiking, and she has never encountered any bad thing. She has never encountered harm during her hitchhiking days. So she was alarmed. She contemplated not going with the man, but as she thought about it, she has never experienced any harm hitchhiking. So she just entered the car with the man, and the others just stayed where they were looking for another vehicle to enter. So the man drove off. So the man looked old, looked grandfatherly, So he made Mary trust him to enter that car. So as they were going on their way, they were discussing. They were even discussing. They were laughing. Mary started smoking her cigarettes, and the man was just concentrating on the road. Then they got to a particular part, and then Lawrence just entered a very lonely road, and Mary was alarmed. Like, why are you entering this road? This is not the way to where I'm going to. So the man said, "Oh, sorry. Oh, I forgot." He now swerved and came back to the main road. So they were still, and that made Mary to like have faith in the man's that the man will be able to take her to wherever she's going to without any funny thing. So on their way they were driving on the road. Then Lawrence now took another turn to another very low road. As he turned to that place, Mary was still complaining that this is not the way. This is not the way to where I'm going to. But this time around, Lawrence didn't stop. Lawrence was driving on. So Mary was just like looking for how to escape that car, trying to search her seat to see whether she can anything that she can grab onto to use as a weapon to escape. They got to a part of the road where Lawrence said he wants to pee. He wants to ease himself. So he just parked the car and came down. So Mary also came down. So Mary, because she wants to flee. So she looked down on her shoes and found out that her laces were not properly tied. So she bent down to tie her laces. Lawrence just struck her on the head with a sledgehammer. Not a normal hammer, a sledgehammer, the biggest hammer ever. The kind of hammer that they used to bring down buildings. That's the type of hammer that Lawrence slammed on her head. And you know how at the back of her head, you know how hard and how pain that will be. To Mary's story, she said that he brought it down with full force on her head. So, and Mary just slumped. And when she came to, she saw Lawrence on her. He had pulled down her panties, everything, and was gripping her seriously. So she was alarmed. She was in panic mode. She started fighting for Lawrence, but Lawrence held her down and gripped her from night till morning, and he gripped her 6 times. 6 good times. So he was just doing that. He would leave and come back again and do again like that till the song started till dawn, pleading with him, pleading that he should just leave her alone, that he should just leave her and free her, that she would never tell anybody. And Lawrence did not pay her any mind. He continued doing what he was doing. Mary was begging and pleading with this man. The man refused. So when he finished, he just went back. He just went to his van and pulled an axe, a small axe, and came back to where Mary was lying, and just used the axe to chop Mary's arm off, just beneath her elbow. He just chopped it off, and Mary was still like, she was confused. What was happening? She felt a very sharp pain. That's not the end of this girl's turmoil. He still brought down the axe on the left arm. it was hard for him to hack off that left arm. So he brought down the axe 3 times on that particular arm before he was able to chop off that arm. And Mary was crying. She was in pain. She was written in pain. So, and this man, he didn't have any feeling. He just told her, yes, now you wanted to be free. Now you are free. So that was not the end of these girls. That was not the end of Mary's attack that night. So he took her to a ravine, then and threw her from a 30-foot cliff from the top of the ravine and threw her into that place. Then he came down from that 30 foot to make sure that she is well hidden. So she hid her close to the people passing by will not be able to see her easily. So he just told her, now you are free, and he left. He drove off. You can imagine this type of evil, chopping her hand off, beating her with a sledgehammer on the head, raping her for 6 times. These are all the things, and throwing her down from a 30-foot cliff. So these are all the things that Mary suffered that night. Then, and she was crying. She was in pain. As Lawrence left, at first, Mary was almost succumbing to her injuries, but her mind just prodded her that you should wake up. You shouldn't allow this man to do this to another person. You should survive this. Don't allow this man to do this to another person. So Mary, selflessly, she was not thinking about herself. She was just thinking, I don't want this to happen to another person. I don't want this to happen to another person. So she started making a paste with the mud there. Her mud and her blood, she used it to make paste, and then used her hand, rubbed her arms. She rubbed them on those mud paste, and that mud was able to stop the blood. Just started climbing that cliff. Started climbing it. She would climb, she would fall, she would climb. She kept trying until she was able to get to that road. Even though that road is a lonely, deserted road, but at least she was hearing other cars passing on the main road. So she just stayed there and hoping that a car would pass and then maybe see her and help her. She was really praying for a car to pass. Then a red sedan passed, and she was waving frantically, trying to stop that car to help her. But the car just drove past her and kept going. I guess the man was scared. I guess the people inside the car, they were scared to help her because they don't know where she was. They don't know what happened with her. But she didn't have her arms. They could see that she was in distress. They should have just helped her, but they didn't. And then the second car, after some minutes, a second car came along that path, and thankfully the car just stopped and helped her. They are newly wedded couple going on their honeymoon. So, and that was not even the path that they were supposed to. They were lost. They were not supposed to follow that path, and God just led them to her, and they were able to save her. And remember, it was in the 70s. There was no mobile phones, so they couldn't call the police. They couldn't call the ambulance like that. They had to drive to a place they can call. They can make the call. So they were able to make the call, and Mary was taken to the hospital. So while in the hospital, they had to do a lot. She has lost a lot of blood. So she was under treatment for 2 weeks, 2 weeks or close to 2 weeks. So she was able to recover, thankfully. When she was during her recovery, that was when the police came to her to ask her questions about what happened. And Mary, at first it was hard for her to tell because it's very traumatic and it just happened recently. So she couldn't tell that story. They had to. I think it was said that she had to be forensic. They had to do forensic hypnosis on her for her to be able to tell her story. And she told her story. She was able to describe Lawrence to a T. As in, she described Lawrence to the extent that it was Lawrence's neighbor. When they drew his face and pasted it everywhere, it was Lawrence's neighbor that was able to identify him and call the police and tell them that this is Lawrence Singleton, my neighbor. This is him. This is him. That is his picture. So they came to Lawrence's house and they arrested him. When they arrested Lawrence, at first he was denying that yes, he was the one that took during her hitchhiking, and he was the one that picked her up, but he was not the one that did that, because he was not the only person. And Mary was not the only hitchhiker that he picked that day. So that he actually picked someone named Larry, he picked someone named Pedro, two men, then plus Mary, and that Mary told them that Mary was just a little whore. That she told them that they pay her, I think $20 or $10 so that she can sleep with the three of them. That it was consensual. That Mary, that he didn't grape Mary. That he was not the one that. Like the fact that the last time he saw Mary, that she had her two arms intact, that he was not the one that did that. And I don't know whether he was just trying to be cheeky or funny, because Larry, he told Mary that his name is Larry. So Larry, I think the short form of Larry, Lawrence is Larry or something like that. So trying to sell it that there is another Larry inside that car, inside the van. It's just him trying to be funny or something like that. So he's just saying I'm not the Larry that did that to her. That the last time I saw her, she was living with those two guys, Pedro and Larry. So maybe it's the other Larry that did this to her, not me. And Mary was saying that he is the only one inside the van. She was the only one that he picked. He didn't pick any Larry or Pedro. So they knew that he was lying, because his story was not just straightforward. He was just trying to swerve from left to right. So able to charge him, and the case went to court. And then during the trials, Mary's ordeal was not done. She had to come to the court and face Lawrence. So during the trial, Lawrence was surprised to see that Mary came to the court and pointed at him that this is the person that did this, pointed with her prosthetic arms, because she was now using prosthetic arms. So he pointed at him that he is the one that did this to her. So Larry was still denying. Then when Mary was, after Mary's testimony, as she was leaving, she had to walk by close to where Lawrence was. Lawrence just muttered that this is not the end. That whenever he's going to make sure that he finishes what he started. That he's not going to leave it like that. And this made Mary very, very scared. So during the trial, they had to sentence Lawrence, because as at that time in California, their law, they had the highest length of time for prison. Someone that attempted murder was 10 years. Then for rape was 2 years. So that it was supposed to be like 12 years. So, and 12 years to someone as evil as Lawrence is laughable. How can they sentence Lawrence, a whole Lawrence with all his evilness, to 12 years? So they had to add 2 more years to it and made it 14 years, which is not even good. 14 years for Lawrence. So he went to prison, and St. Quentin prison in California. So that was where he was for 8 years. After 8 years, ding ding dong, Lawrence was released on good behavior. Lawrence and good behavior should not be in the same sentence. How are they releasing Lawrence on good behavior? Lawrence that did this type of evil to a young girl of 15 years. He was 51 when he did this, and 51 years old, he was able to do this to a 15-year-old Mary. So, and they just released him that because of good behavior. They released him after 8 years. Oh my God, it should be a crime to release somebody like that. So he was released, and every community around California that he wanted to go and live in rejected him because they saw what he did to Mary. And 8 years is not even that long. They still remember him. So it was announced that he is being released. So everybody, all the community, anywhere he wants to get a house, they all came out and said, no, don't come here. We don't need you. You are an evil man. You don't need to stay in our community. Don't come here. So most of them, they rejected him almost everywhere that he went to. That he had to go back to prison. They had to build a bunk or something like that underneath the ground, beneath the ground, for him to stay. Had to stay there for 1 year. He stayed in the prison grounds for 1 year before he was able to find a community, a place where he got a house. And it was said that that community, maybe they didn't know what Lawrence did, or they were forgiven. Their hearts were forgiven, and they are open to second chance. But for someone that like Lawrence, I don't think he deserves second chance. So they gave him a second chance, and he was able to move to that community, and he stayed in that community. Even when Mary heard that he was being released, she was very scared, because remember what Lawrence said to her, that he is going to finish what he started. So Mary was so scared, and that being scared, I said this time she had gotten married, later had her 2 kids. So, but Lawrence not being in prison, it spooks her. So, but then and Lawrence will continue staying in that community. Then some years later, Lawrence struck again. He murdered another lady. He murdered a lady, a street worker, by the name of Rezona Hayes. So he just, I don't know, he just murdered her. He invited her into his house. Picked her up with his van. Then when she got home with him, I don't know what happened between them, but it was reported that he murdered her, and he was even caught red-handed this time around. His neighbor, one of his neighbors, came to his house to ask him for something or something like that. So, and he saw him in the process of doing this to that lady, and he was the one that called the police. And when the police got there, the lady had already died, and they caught Lawrence. So, and that was how he was sentenced to death this time around. He was sentenced to death, but years later, he later died from natural causes. He didn't get to be electrocuted or executed or anything. He just died on his own. So, and that made Mary very sad, because during the trial, the second trial of Lawrence, Mary was there. She had to come and bear witness. She had to come and testify against him that this man does not need to be released into the society anymore. He needed to either serve a life sentence or maybe death penalty. So, and he was sentenced to death. That first time, they should have just sentenced him to life imprisonment without parole. But there is some good that came out of it. From this Lawrence's case, they had to create a bill. They even had to call it Singleton's bill. And that bill means that anyone that had like tortured people during and had been involved in torture or anything involved in torture, attempted murder, the torture during attempted murder or something like that, rape, the person had to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. So we used to say America has these very long sentences that you will see people that have served 40 years, 45 years. These are the cases that made those laws come into place. These are the cases, because if you release someone that has the capacity of doing such evil into the society, chances are that the person will still go ahead to do this to other people. So that's why they sentence people to very long sentences. We complain that America, their sentences are so long, but these are the cases. Why will you release someone like Lawrence to the society? In Nigeria here, I don't know about our law. I don't know how long you'll be sentenced, but I think rape is 7 years or something like that. So an attempted murder, maybe life imprisonment. I don't know. I will have to confirm. But these are the things. Even in Nigeria now, hitchhiking is no longer, people no longer hitchhike in America and in almost other parts of, in almost all parts of the world. Even here in Nigeria, that we call it lift, we no longer enter lift because we've heard from rumors. Like I said before, my country is not very good with documenting, but a lot of rumors have come out of people lift, they are entering lifts and they get lost, they will never be found anymore. So I know that a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening, and a lot of, now people are so scared of entering lifts. Now in America, people no longer hitchhike. It's either you enter a bus or you go with your own car. That is also what is happening here in Nigeria. We don't hitchhike. We don't enter lifts. It's never safe. It's not written on the face. This Mary saw this man as a grandfather, as someone that cannot harm her. Even to her, she may even feel that she will be able to outrun and all of that. But you see what happened? And she's bent down trying to tie her shoes. The man struck. So anything can happen. Even the one that looks 80 can still do evil. Evil lives everywhere. Evil has no, that's my creed now. That's my motto now. That, in fact, evil does not have age. It does not have color. It does not have tribe. Evil, any people, any tribe, any country, any place, people can do evil everywhere. So just stay safe, be at alert. Don't hitchhike, don't enter lift, or whatever you call it in your country. Let me know in the comment section. It's no longer happening here in Nigeria. People don't do it, unless maybe people that are so, maybe, I don't know, people that are so daring. But I also understand that, and I share grit is very share grit that helped Mary to survive this. Maybe all her days of staying in the streets, running away and surviving on the streets and all of that was what helped her to survive. Because I cannot imagine climbing a 30 feet. It's long. 30 feet. He had to climb climb that without hands to grip on any place. She climbed that and she was able to survive. Mary is a very strong lady. Is a very strong lady, and we should all learn from her story. Never to hitchhike and to persevere. She had this strength and this faith in her that she wanted to survive to save other girls from, and her surviving and trying to save other girls. The law was not able to hold Lawrence in prison, at least sentence him to 25 years in prison. Assuming he was in prison, Rexona, the other lady, would not have encountered Lawrence in the first place to lead to her death. At least maybe she would have been alive till now. That's the story of Mary Vincent. I hope you've learned from this story, and that is it. So if you like true crime stories and listening to true crime stories from a Nigerian's perspective, please don't hesitate to subscribe. My name is Linda Camara, and this is Crime Stories with Linda. I forgot to introduce myself. So please don't hesitate, don't forget to subscribe. I need your subscriptions, please. It shows that this channel is growing. And click on that subscribe button, share, and comment. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and please stay safe. Stay safe. Bye.